Hi, this is Ben with another video showcasing how we can use Site Recovery Manager and PowerCLI together. So this is going to be using some of the new commandlets that PowerCLI provides, and then I'm also going to show some of the how you can use custom functions to make it easier to consume the SRM Site Recovery Manager API with PowerCLI. So first, let's go and connect. So we're going to connect to our VI server. So I'm going to pass in the address of the vCenter that I want to connect to. Oh, bit of a typo there. And I have some hard-coded usernames. Let's pass in the username and password. I have a couple of local variables that contain that information. Okay, and now let's connect to the SRM server. So this is one of the new commandlets that the PowerCLI team have added. I can specify the server here, but actually, because I've already connected to the VI server, it's going to use that VI server connection to figure out which SRM server I need to connect to. So what I am going to provide, though, is still the credentials that I'm going to use to connect. And I'll pass those credentials for both the local site and also for the remote site as well. And because my remote site is actually using the same authentication credentials, I'll just pass in exactly the same. Yeah. Okay, great. So now we've connected to the VI server and to the SRM server. So what I'm going to demonstrate in this example today is being able to get a recovery plan and then actually execute the test and failover and some of those different operations on the recovery plan. So these bits now are using what the custom functions that I've defined. So the first one, let's get a list of recovery plans. You see I have 5 recovery plans that are listed. These map to, if we look into my actual vSphere client, I have these 5 recovery plans here. But they're not terribly helpful. Let me actually go and get one. And this function get recovery plan by name. Get recovery plan actually has a name parameter that I'm going to be able to use to actually get the exact one that I want to work with. So if I do get Madrid site failover, you see I have a single recovery plan that I'm returning there, which relates to this recovery plan here. So let me give you a quick overview of this plan. So this is going from vCenter on my B site to my A site. You see you have various steps here. I'm basically recovering a single virtual machine at this point, WSL04. So let's now go back to PowerCLI. So now you can see this is how we can get a reference to a single recovery plan. So what can we do with that? Well, in this latest blog post that I've written, I've defined some new functions. So the first one is going to be start recovery plan. So what's that going to do? Well, this gives us the opportunity to actually invoke some of those recovery plan operations, including test, cleanup, recovery, and reprotect. So by default, it will do a test. So let me just show you how that will work. If I enter this, naturally I'm going to prompt the user to confirm whether they actually want to run this operation or not. So in this case, I'll do N, just so you can see that it's completely safe. The fact that I've declined to run it is going to mean that I'm not actually going to execute any code, and no changes to the state of the recovery plan in my client at all. I can also use the what if to actually see what's going to happen. You see what if performing operation test on target Madrid site failover. Okay. So now I'll show you that although I was using the default, which is test there, I can actually specify the recovery mode. And within the custom function, this is defined as an enumeration, which means I can just cycle through all the various options very easily. So I'm actually going to stick with tests. So let's kick that off, and then we'll go back to the client and see what happens. So yes, I do want to do it this time. Oh, and you can see, if I switch to my client, my test recovery plan has started. So let's build out the steps here. We can see what's going on. Oh, I'm already powering on the machine. Failing over the replication, configuring the networks, and then going to power on the machine. And the test is completed. You see that from when we started, so 12 minutes past 11, 13 to 43, so about 30 seconds for it to complete all those steps to fail over that individual virtual machine. Let's go back to PowerCLI. So now what we're going to do is actually, let's have a little bit more of a detailed look at this recovery plan. So this is going to be the call that's going to get us a recovery plan, and let's just put this in a local variable that I'll call RP. And then let's just have a quick look at RP and the getInfo method of the API. You can see here, we can clearly see that we need to now do a cleanup of this plan. We've done the test failover, now it's time for a test complete. So let's see how easy that is to do. So here you can see we pipe in the recovery plan again, and then we just go into start and then set the recovery mode to cleanup test. And let's execute this. Again, we're prompted. Let's confirm that. And then we can see the test cleanup is kicked off. Oh, and actually just within a few seconds that's completed. So let's go back and do the getInfo method again. And we can see that the recovery plan is again ready. So I've shown you the example of start recovery plan by piping through the recovery plan that we want to operate on. We can, of course, let's go get it, actually pipe through an actual reference to the recovery plan. So actually define it as a parameter. So here, dash recovery plan RP, recovery mode. Let's do a failover this time. And then, so previously we've been prompted whether we want to confirm the operation or not. This time I'll show you how how we can bypass that confirmation prompt. This is a failover, so it's a fairly disruptive operation. So you probably wouldn't normally bypass this confirmation if you're doing this interactively, but this is just an example of how you can do that. So that's kicked it off. If we switch back over here, we can go expand out the various steps. We can see how we're going to shut down the production VMs. We're going to go through all the synchronized storage steps and then power on the virtual machine on the recovery site. So this is nearly completed. We'll just see how, wait for this to wrap up. Great, we're done. So again, we can see the full failover from 11:15 and 40 seconds through to 11:16 and 26 seconds end to end for this recovery plan. This was all initiated via the API. And so now let's have another look at the recovery plan information. You see now we're in a failed over state. And so we can, as well as controlling the failover and so on, using these custom functions that we're using to make it very easy to encapsulate and make it easy to call those API calls. You can also inspect the actual state of the recovery, and we can see here, we're in a failed over state, we're in a ready state. Earlier we're in a state that needs cleanup after test, and so on. So you have really good ability to see exactly what the state of your various recovery plans are. So I hope this has been useful for you, and if any feedback, I certainly welcome that. You can reach me via my blog or via Twitter. Okay, thank you, bye, and have a good evening or good day, wherever it may be.